The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my tickets!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Vincent at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, Alexis, Hejna, and tonight we are once again traveling through the multiverse. We're here to talk Season 2 of Loki, and probably the series finale of Loki, all things considered. Joining me, Mr. Vincent VanSpock. Welcome back. Glad to have you on.
Hey, live long and prosper. How's it been?
Doing good. All right, so yes, we've discussed the first season of Loki. We've actually got one of our favorite memes from that discussion. The second season started on October 5th, ran to November 9th as part of Phase 5 of the MCU. And to be perfectly frank, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, its placement with the MCU is just a little on the confusing side considering what they're currently going through, both with... with them deciding to pretty much upheaval everything, and with the fact that we now have the question of what they're going to be doing with Jonathan Majors. So yes, this picks up right after the end of Season 1. We had Sylvie killing He Who Remains, otherwise known as, well, not one of Kang's variants, but one of the ones who Kang was a variant on. I feel like I need a whiteboard in the background for all of this.
It's very Charlie Day. It's the whole white.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we need the whiteboard and the red string just connecting everything. 'Cause this is going to get confusing, folks. So yes, we have Loki, who is trying his hardest to save the TVA, which is about to be destroyed because of the death of He Who Remains. We have the temporal loom, which has gone haywire and cannot be controlled, which again will mean the destruction of the TVA. And if that happens, we're going to get a multiversal war. Although we may still be getting a multiversal war because I think Avengers Secret Wars is still on the books. And I'm waiting for the point where we're going to discuss this and we're both just going to look up and go, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. All right. So what did you think of the first season of Loki? How did you like it?
Oh man, Loki, both seasons is my favorite of the Marvel TV shows that they got on Disney Plus. Moon Knight would be my close second, and then WandaVision would be third. But Loki is definitely number one. It's the one that I was the most captivated with. It's the one that I think had the most style and pizzazz to it. Very, very well written, especially that final episode of season one. Specifically, that one was really good to watch. It had everybody really speculating on what's going to happen next. What is this statue over here that's crumbled down? What does that mean? Are they even going to touch on that? All that kind of stuff. It was a very, very good season one, and then season two just blew it out of the water.
Definitely, especially since you kind of also have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania sort of taking place, I think, in the middle of this. Again, I don't know. I really don't. Well, actually, no, I do, because we do have that mention at the end of this season where they mention one of the He Remains variants having a dust up on 616 adjacent, which 616 we know was the MCU. Yeah. So I guess that was that. But yes, we have Loki trying to save the TVA, trying to stop an oncoming multiversal war. He's still trying to patch things up with Sylvie, who killed He Who Remains. We've got the return of Mobius M. played again by Owen Wilson, who still wants his freaking jet ski. We had Hunter B-15, we have Casey, and we also have our new character, Ouroboros, or Obi, played by Ki Hua Kwan, who I'm really happy to see getting more work after his Oscar win for Everything Ever All at Once. He's just one of those, he brings a lot of energy to his roles,
does.
and I love the enthusiasm he clearly has for this. Apparently, he loves working with these guys, and he was so thrilled to get to be a part of the Marvel. From what I've heard now, he's like, okay, fine. Indiana Jones is Disney, and I've now done Marvel. I want to be in Star Wars. So
I
he wants
really
to be
hope.
in the. Oh, me too. I would love to have him. Kind of interesting, also, to have him named Ouroboros. I mean, you know what an Ouroboros is, right?
It's like eating its own tail.
Exactly, which he drops a little joke about that later, because that is something we see a lot of. The idea that this whole thing is just repeating over and over and over. It's a real theme to the storyline with this.
Yeah, especially that last episode, everything really comes onto its head with that like cyclical theme to it.
Mm-hmm. So we're probably not going to go episode by episode because, again, it's a little hard to nail down exactly. I mean, this is a very technical series. There's a lot of explaining. And if I was any good at science or math, I wouldn't be a professional artist.
Yeah.
So more so, I want to talk about the performances and the themes in general and what this means for the MCU as a bigger picture. Is that good with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And one of the first ones I want to talk about is that even though we don't know what he's going to be doing with the MCU in the future, it is, I do want to talk Jonathan Majors, who plays He Who Remains and one of his variants, Victor Timely, and plays them both insanely well as two very different characters. I'm very impressed so far with his acting because we've really seen him play multiple different variations of someone and give them all their own performances, their own character, their own personality. He does a really great job with the differences between He Who Remains and Timely, who is a con man, who's got a stutter, who is not ready for this bigger picture of what's going on. What did you think of his performances?
Jonathan Majors, the first time I saw him on screen as He Who Remains, turned to my then girlfriend at the time and said, that right there, that's going to be the future of acting. And I kind of hate that I said that now, considering the whole accusation and crap of what's going on with him. But just the moment he stepped on screen, he was really just a dominant presence. And you're captivated by his performance. And yeah, he's going way over the top with it, but it was appropriate to the character and what the character wanted to do, especially after watching him in the final episode of season 2. And then when all of a sudden he realizes that Loki has had this conversation with him a million times over, and he drops the theatricality and just is immediately chill.
Yeah,
that right there.
Pull up a chair. We got to talk. Yeah. So, but here's the next question. With the end of this, there's a lot of speculation that maybe Marvel is trying to move away from Kang. Of course, Jonathan Majors is currently accused of assault and a couple of other things. Trial at the time we're recording this trial has not started, so we're not going to go on to whether or not we think, what happened with him. But we do know that because of this, Marvel has kind of moved away from him, and there's a lot of speculation with the end of this that maybe they're kind of moving away from it, that the whole concept of the future Avengers movie being called Kang Dynasty may not be that anymore. So as great as we enjoy Jonathan Majors in this, what would you rather do? Would you rather recast the role, or do you think it would be better to just abandon Kang entirely? What would you, if you had Kevin Feige's job, what would you do?
If it was me, first of all, I wouldn't have cast one actor to play all of the Time variants throughout the entire MCU, because if you read the comics, Kang isn't the same looking person every single time. Sometimes he's black, sometimes he's white, sometimes he's Egyptian, sometimes he's a kid, sometimes he's an adult. There's a million different variants for them. And they also, they cast Sylvie as a woman to be a variant of Loki. They have a kid variant of Loki. They have an alligator variant of Loki. Why can't we have variants of Kang that aren't Jonathan Majors? Just recast the role, have multiple people, just say, hey, this is Kang, he just looks different, and then move on with your life. You don't have to completely nix the storyline and go with an entirely different villain or anything like that. Just recast him.
Very true. You have a scene where in the future movie where the Avengers are fighting Kang and Ant-Man says something to the effect of, "That's not the guy I fought in the quantum realm," and Doctor Strange says something to the effect of, "Well, why did you think all of them would look like him," or something? Or don't even mention the different looking variants, for for lack of better terms, pull a Rhodey.
Yeah, just pull Rhodey. First time you see Rhodey on screen as John Cheadle, or John Cheadle as Rhodey, he says, "I'm here, it's me, deal with it," and then you move on. And that's not just like him talking to Tony, that's him talking to the audience too. Yeah, we know that Terrence Howard was here before, he was Rhodey before. It's me now, get over it, move on.
Mm-hmm. I'm also with you because I brought this up when we reviewed Wakanda Forever, because there was no way Mark and Robert and I were going to get out of that review without a very lengthy discussion on what was to be done after the death of Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I point out is that there are more than hundreds of Black actors out there who are exceptionally talented and chomping at the bit for roles. We hear every day about how, parts for minorities and all that are diminishing. And I look at something like this and they say, no, let's bring in Victor Von Doom. And I'll get back to that in a second. But I can't help but think, like, there's so many actors out there who would probably be just as good, if not better, than Jonathan Majors. And I think Disney is shooting themselves in the foot by essentially just saying, nope, we're just going to get rid of the character. Door shut, out of the way, done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see that you could replace Jonathan Majors with multiple actors across multiple nationalities and races and genders, and just all sorts of different people could play variants of Kang. There's no reason why you shouldn't. But if you want to stick with specifically like Black actors, two that immediately come to my mind, Aldous Hodge, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He played Hawkman in Black Adam, and he was in Leverage.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he was phenomenal in Leverage.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a nice acting range to him. Mm-hmm. He was also in the
right with it. I was going to say, I didn't like the Black Adam movie, but I will give it to you. His performance as Hawkman, he has the ferocity to him.
Oh, yeah.
Play an intimidating villain like Kang. I could definitely see him playing the role.
He's got a very nice range to him. In Leverage, he's smart, but also funny. And the Invisible Man, he played like the straight character, just really well done, like as the romantic interest. And then, of course, in Black Adam, he's got that ferocity to him. So I think he's got the range for it. Another one that immediately comes to mind for me is John Boyega. He was in Star Wars. Finn.
Yeah. He was also in Attack the Block, which is a criminally underrated, kick-ass movie.
100% agree, yeah. I think there's a lot of different players out there that could be these guys. Players meaning theater performers is what I say that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, why not just recast it? King's such a great character, and they really have so much that they can do with him, but they have to give somebody a chance to show that they're able to step up.
Absolutely. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, the other rumor is that if they do step away from Kang, we're going to get more. Apparently, the villain they may be leaning towards is Victor Von Doom. Now, that's a villain I've been calling for a while, mostly because I think the dumbest thing Marvel can do is wait till after Fantastic Four to introduce him. That has been one of the when they did it with those previous Fox Fantastic Four movies, the handling of Dr. Doom was criminal. They just did not get the character at all. And Von Doom has always been a great villain for the entire Marvel universe. He doesn't just drive the Fantastic Four nuts. He drives Iron Man nuts. He drives Captain America nuts. He drives Thor nuts. He is a constant presence because he's not just your average bad guy. He's a freaking dictator of his own country. We need
and apparently good enough that his people actually like him as a dictator.
Yeah. He is very well loved. But I hate to say it's because he knows how to lead, and he knows how to keep his people happy through his knowledge of science and sorcery and everything. He has found ways to have Latveria really prosper. He's not just coveting power and holding on to it. It's like, no, he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to, tend to everyone's needs. There's actually a running joke with him that I can't remember which comic book it was, but it was the Great Panther God of Wakanda visited him and said, you know what? Yeah, if you ruled the world, you would make it a better place. You know what you're doing. You could fix all of the world's problems if you just got your damn ego out of the way. Because that's always Doom's downfall. It's just like, just put your ego aside. You actually could make the world a better place.
I mean, that's the way it is with all people of power. Just put your ego aside and you can actually do something good in the world.
Exactly. I was actually kind of hoping to have both of them brought in, kind of have, how should I put this? As Loki in the first saga was to Thanos, have Von Doom as to Kang. Kind of like, not, how do we put this in gamers' terms? Not level 1 boss, but the midway for your first major boss. First major boss battle. Not the cannon fodder first battle. That's the wrecking crew that we got in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
That's the way I refer to them. It's like they just always show up. It's like, yeah, they're the bad guys at the end of the first level that we can all beat.
They're the villain of the week, as they put it in Spider-Man and
Exactly. All right, so we got that. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to talk. So like I said, we talked about majors. Interesting presence in this was, oh my God, let me make sure I got her name right here. Was Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie, who plays a very different character, I would say, than what we saw in season 1. She's killed He Who Remained. She's escaped the sacred timeline, and she's just kind of contented first with hiding. She doesn't want to go back. She's working at freaking McDonald's.
I think Sylvie was a little bit underutilized in season 2. She had some pretty good moments, like that moment in the record store when everything starts spaghettifying. That whole scene was very, very prominent for her. And then also the very last episode when she's talking with Loki, and he, right before he goes to become the World Tree, essentially. Spoiler alert. He has a chat with each of his friends, one after another, to get their permission as well as understanding of the way that they think about this whole situation. And he meets up with Sylvie, and that scene is also very well done for her and for Tom Hiddleston's Loki. The two of them really have some chemistry in that scene. But other than those two moments, she didn't really have a whole lot going on in season 2, and I wish that they had done more with her because she was such an important part of season 1 after, I think, episode 3 or 2 when they introduced her.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but I do have to comment on it. Who okayed that haircut on her? It looked terrible. I know it was an 80s McDonald, but what was with her hair? It looked so bad.
It was like a mullet.
Yeah, it was so weird. No, I agree with you that she was a little underutilized. I do love that scene in the record store, though, with her just kind of realizing, okay, I do have to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
was really well done.
And then the completely calm turning on the doorway into the TVA and walking through it very easily. Even though the world is literally turning into spaghetti because it's dissolving essentially. She just walks away. Okay, this is something I got to do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I was checking something on the wiki about this, and what was happening to them was it actually has a term and its own Wikipedia page. It's called spaghettification.
It is spaghettification. That's funny.
It is spaghettification. Apparently, it's the idea with like a black hole, that you are literally being pulled into the most finite of of thickness, for lack of better terms. So yeah, you're turned into a flying spaghetti monster. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I like that. And I don't know if you happen to catch this, or probably everybody did, but it's the exact same way that Mr. Fantastic, Jonathan Krasinski's character, died in Multiverse of Madness. Like, he was just spaghettified. And a lot of people thought, oh, it's because he's made of rubber, it kind of looks like rubber bands. I think that she was literally erasing him from reality in that moment.
Very true. It was a little on this. It's weird because I was okay with most of the scenes of the spaghettification, except for that first time that Victor Timely ran out into the field. I did not expect that scene.
No, none of us did. And they showed it over and over and over again in that last episode. It was just as jaunting as it was the first time.
But yeah, just that scream as he walks out and just literally turns into spaghetti. I was just like, oh my God, I was floored that they went with that.
They have a lot of cliffhangers this season, and a whole lot of them.
Yeah. It does actually, though. Even though we're not going to talk episode to episode, I do want to talk about the penultimate episode. We have the loom pretty much failing, and we have all of the characters going to. I kind of was having trouble understanding this, but I think that's their original timelines before they were taken to the TVA, as it works. We found out in the first season they were all variants. So I guess I believe this is what they were all doing before they showed up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
My general idea and understanding of the situation is that you had the loom and you had like the sacred timeline, and then all of these branches coming from the one side that have been forced into the sacred timeline, and I guess kind of pruned, just like the CDA was doing with the little capsules that they were putting down and pruning the entire time or whatever. And so I don't know. It was very, very confusing as well. But obviously, ultimately, it didn't end up mattering because it was just a fail-safe, as Remains put it. So it wasn't that important.
Yeah. Fun fact, though. I was looking on the Wikipedia about this. Where is the link? So, hang on a second. We got someone joining us. Hey, Gunnar.
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. It's all good. We're glad you're here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gunnar Maelstrom joining us to discuss. We were just talking about the penultimate episode of Loki season 2, where we have all the characters kind of going into what we think were their original lives on the timelines before they got, their memories wiped or whatever, and went to go work for the sacred timeline.
Yeah, no, that was a great episode, and apparently there's a lot that was changed in it. That episode was kind of thrown together at the last minute, so I really liked that episode. It had that sad Infinity War ending. It was great.
Yeah, not dusting, spaghettification.
Exactly.
The word that the producer used to describe the original cut of it being cut off, he called it nuke. He said that they nuked that idea. It tells me that it was so bad that they needed to just obliterate it, which is amazing that they were able to bring in something so poetic and beautiful at the last minute. And that episode was just phenomenal from start to finish.
But here, this little fun fact here. So the character Casey, we see what he was doing. Apparently, he was escaping freaking Alcatraz. And you guys caught what they were calling him, what his original name was?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank.
Mhm.
That is actually from the June 1962 Alcatraz escape attempt. This was real. Inmates Clarence Anglin, John Anglin, and Frank Morris escaped from Alcatraz on the night of June 11th or early in the morning of June 12th. The three men tucked paper mache heads resembling their own likeness into the beds, broke out of the main prison via the ventilation ducts, and departed the island aboard an improvised inflatable raft to an uncertain fate.
I love it. This is the DB Cooper moment of the season, which was my favorite part of the first season. I love like how the conspiracy theory stuff. It's so great. I love that part.
I always love that because I remember telling that moment to my parents, who are not Marvel enthusiasts in any way, shape, or form. Don't read the comics. They've only seen a few of the movies. But when I mentioned to them that Loki was DB Cooper, even they thought that was hilarious. But yeah,
He's been my favorite character on the show. I love him, even though there was a small continuity error that no one talks about. Because in the season 1 finale, when he goes back to what we find is the past, Casey is in the background dressed as a hunter and like runs past him. And I guess they decided, well, no one noticed that. So we'll
didn't notice that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good observation.
Yeah.
I've heard no one mention that except me. So either I'm crazy, which might be the case, or I'm the only one. I just love Eugene Cordero. I love him in everything he does. He's great.
He was good. I still love that scene in the first season when Loki opens his desk drawer and he sees all of the Infinity Stones. Like, oh yeah, use them as paperweights. That was great. All right, so we were Gunnar, before you came on, we were previously talking about also about Sophia DiMartino and her role as Sylvie and what we thought of her in this season. And Mr. VanSpock, you were saying he thought she was kind of underutilized a little bit. What did you think?
You could say that, yes, absolutely. But I think how they played it out at the end was genius, where Loki had to become the god of stories to save her life. It's the only thing that could have done to save her life. It's kind of like, comparing it to Star Wars, where Jar Jar had one small part in Attack of the Clones, but it was the most devastating thing. It's all his fault.
Yeah.
And he had one scene, and George Lucas is brilliant because after all the hate that Jar Jar got, how does he make up for that? By making it all his fault, making all that hate worth it. So I think it paid off. The ending paid off, but yeah, absolutely. She was definitely underutilized this season.
Yeah, like I guess I was just a little confused by some of her motives. I mean, we understand her killing He Who Remains at the end of season 1. Then she decides to go into hiding. Then Loki tries to convince her to come back, but then she decides to go and track them to the Chicago World's Fair to try to kill Victor Timely. And it's like, so did your hate just inspire you to go after them, or did you not want to go back into hiding? I don't know. I thought that it was a little hard to focus on what her main goal was, what the producers and the writers wanted out of her.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Always.
This is dead honest, and you actually made me think of it, but who wasn't underutilized this season? Because I felt like, Ke Kwang was great. I wanted more of him. Mm-hmm. I know his personal life's a mess, but I wanted more Jonathan Majors. I wanted more Victor Timely. He was awesome. Ravonna Renslayer, I felt like she had nothing to do. Casey, give me more Casey. Like, I feel every character I could have had more of it. I don't know how that's possible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they could write a show where, and I don't think anyone was overused. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Is that a stupid question? Is that a stupid thought?
No, it is true that obviously besides Loki and I would argue Mobius, those two I would say are probably utilized the most. But you're not wrong. And I think a lot of that is that there's so much going on in this season that they're trying to nail down. I think it is a little hard to explore more time. We get a lot more time with Miss Minutes in a truly disturbing scene that I'm never going to forget. Props to you, Tara Strong.
Yeah, that was a little creepy.
I think that like we're so used to having all of these ensemble things with the Avengers and different movies bringing in characters from other parts of the franchise that you wouldn't normally see like interacting with, so like Nick Fury and Spider-Man, or who else? You have the Marvels. You have all three of them together now, as well as Nick Fury in that line. And you get the characters that pop up in certain places, and it's very ensemble feeling in a lot of these other things. This one, and I think it's because this is Loki's story. This is specifically the Tom Hiddleston Loki that teleported back out of the 2012 Avengers movie into a new set timeline thing, and then they brought him into the TVA, and this was entirely his story. And yeah, there was an ensemble there, and maybe they were a little bit underutilized, but it's Loki after all. I mean, the show is called Loki, so why wouldn't they focus on him? So I do kind of see why they would underutilize people like Sophie DiMartino and Owen Wilson and Kihu Kwan, the three of them, and just everybody else in the show. I see why they didn't use them as much. It's because it is Loki's story. It's telling his story about how he becomes the god that he always thought that he was supposed to be. And originally he's going about it the wrong way. He's trying to break the throne by power and intelligence and whatnot, and then eventually he finds his reason to be the god that he thought that he was always destined to be, with his burdened by glorious purpose. And so that's the end of the story, is him getting that glorious purpose that is going to forever burden him.
Absolutely, because we see so much of that burden, that sacrifice they make, especially in the last episode. The fact that he literally spent centuries studying how to fix the sacred timeline, how to fix the temporal loom. That, I mean, again, I know he's a god, and I know that he's immortal. Well, not immortal, but he lives so much longer than humans do. But can you just imagine that, going through that same moment easily over 1 million times? Because I mean, I seriously doubt that he went back for a century, a couple, centuries ago, and then just started reading. He had to have kept going over and over and over it.
It was a lot like Groundhog Day, like when Mary learns to play the piano, and he does it over and over and over again. That's kind of cool. I mean, Groundhog Day is great, and I don't think of Groundhog Day as a time travel movie, but it actually is if you think about it. It absolutely is.
The director of Groundhog Day said that Bill Murray's character relived that same day for 10,000 years.
Yeah, I remember that, because the fans were asking for the longest time, how long was he stuck in that town? Yeah. And I do love, I guess, kind of the humor of it, just at the start of it, of Loki realizing it's like, okay, again and again and again, just a little, just like, okay, just the fact that he's resigning himself to realizing, I gotta keep fixing this crap. The scene of him finally getting it all right and saying everything before anyone else can, and they're all staring at him just like, what is going on here? And Tom Hiddleston does play that all. Actually, that does bring me to my next point. This may very well be the last we see of Loki. Tom Hiddleston has said he believes the character is done. He's reached his ultimate goal. He is the god of stories now, as he is in the books. Do you think this is a 14-year character arc for a person with one role? I mean, what do you guys think about how we've wrapped up the saga of what is easily one of the most popular characters in the MCU? Gunnar, you want to go first?
Yeah, no, I think it's wrapped up great, and if we never see him again, I'm completely satisfied with his ending. He became such a different character in this series, and I love it. Like and that whole scene with him and Sophia DiMartino, where
Sylvie,
Sylvie, she gets him to admit that he just wants to be with his friends. Like that, like look at that Loki and where he came from. I mean, this is the same Loki from the first Avengers. Like what an arc. And if we get him, I'd be super happy to see him again. If we never see him again, like I'm very satisfied knowing that he's living his glorious purpose, you know?
Very true. Mr. VanSpock, what do you think? What would you say if Tom Hiddleston has effectively walked away from the MCU?
It's I could take it if he comes back. I could leave it if he stays on. I love his ending. I love this entire episode and the show, both seasons of it. The entire thing came full circle. The name of both the first episode of season 1 and the last episode of season 2 is Glorious Purpose. The last thing that he says on screen to Sylvie and Mobius is, "I'm doing this for you, for us."
Yes.
And it's the exact same thing that he said to Odin as he let go of the scepter and or sword or whatever it was he was holding on to in Thor. Which
apparently he improvised that line. Apparently that was his idea.
That's awesome. And the same with the I Am Iron Man. It's I Am Iron Man all over again.
Yeah.
Like that, it improvised as well. And then all of a sudden they had to bring it into the Avengers Endgame as the last thing that Tony's going to say, because it was the first thing that really set him off as Iron Man. And so that's what's going on with Loki. It's like, this is the thing that set you into the path of being Loki. You have to say it again, because this time you actually mean it. That first time you didn't mean it. It was still for you. It was always going to be for you that first time you said it. But this time you mean it because you actually care about somebody other than yourself. And that's one of the great things about this show. And it sucks that it took centuries for Loki to get there. But he got there, you know? And it really does, it becomes full circle, because I think from the moment of Thor and beyond, this has all been Loki's story. All of it has been Loki's story, because if he hadn't let go that day and gone off into space, he wouldn't have found Thanos. He wouldn't have attacked New York. Thanos wouldn't have come to Earth. There's so many things that got started simply because Loki let go that day. And so this is the end of his entire story, and everything that has happened thus far is Loki's story.
And now Loki literally holds all of the MCU, all of their stories in his hands. I mean, he is now effectively the most powerful person in the MCU, in all of the Marvel universe.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him. What he always wanted to be.
He's the Silver World King. That's what he is now.
I do love the speech that Mobius gives him when he's trying to understand how to save everyone. And Mobius just says, it's essentially, you just have to pick your burden. It's like, you're not going to get out of this. You know, you just have to figure out what are you going to carry, because he's trying to figure out, it's like, do I kill Sylvie? Do I let her kill he who remains? Where is the line? He essentially realizes the only way to do that is essentially take himself out of the equation and rewrite the equation with it.
And he says that in the show, while talking to He Who Remains. He says, "I'm going to change the equation."
Mm-hmm.
It's very Kobayashi Maru of him. To be like, well, it's supposed to be this.
That
way,
is a
this
really good comparison. I like that a lot.
I just thought of that like right in this second. I'm like, oh, it's Kobayashi Maru all over again.
The only way to win is to not play the game.
Oh yeah, war games.
There's too many quotes here, but yeah, and just that scene of him walking down the plank, and we see what we think are his clothes decaying, but they're not. They're turning into his Norse uniform, with his cape and the horns. That was just such a beautiful sequence, and I love how well it transitioned.
And that his horns so good. Go ahead.
Oh no, I love that scene. It was so this Man, this show was so cinematic, and I don't know, like I just think they hit on every mark they were trying to make this season. I don't know, like this bumped up to the top, like my number one Marvel series. I think it surpassed everything that they've done so far. I think they crushed it out of the park, and just seeing him walk on there with the slippers, and it was just like, if it took me a second to figure out what he was doing, but once you kind of figure it out, you're like, this is awesome.
I'm already calling it that next year we're going to see a lot of Loki cosplays of him in that final uniform. Extra points if they're holding on to like fairy lights or oh my god, what are those neon lights that you crack and shake? What are those called?
The nightstick or light?
What are they called?
Glow sticks. Glow sticks.
Glow sticks, yeah. Can you just imagine someone dressed like that carrying around a big thing of like giant glow sticks in their hands, big old green glow sticks? Cosplayers who are watching this, you have your assignment. Get to work.
Now, I wonder, because I know that they cut last season short, and I wonder if this was always intended to be 2 seasons, or if they just decided halfway through, you know what, let's stop right now and let's give it a second. I wonder how that works, because the Marvel hasn't really had a second season. I know we're getting What If, but that's kind of an anthology series, so it's different. They've never done this with any of their other series, so I wonder if this was always the plan, or if
I actually need to look it up. What is our aside from What If, which we did just get a trailer for that the other day. It looks really good. What other TV series? Okay, we got Echo. We got Agatha, Darkhold Diaries. We got Ironheart, and we got Daredevil Born Again. I am sorry, guys. I've got something in my throat that's killing me.
Did they officially kill the Wonder Man show?
the Wonder Man?
Yeah. Because I thought that was supposed to start shooting soon, but I wonder if they killed it.
I haven't heard on that at all.
Looks like it's still in
Oh,
okay. It was supposed to start in this February. Filming began in early April 2003. Production shut down in late May due to the writer's strike. Filming is expected to resume later this month.
Oh, okay, good. So then it's stuck around.
All right, but didn't they push back Echo and Agatha?
Well, Echo's getting dropped at one time. So, but yeah, I mean, they seem like they pushed those shows back a bunch. And that Echo trailer looks kind of awesome. Like,
okay, Echo is getting it.
Kingpin beat Kingpin.
Yeah, I joke with her about what we need and what we're getting with the MCU, and I'm like, more Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. I can't fight that. I can't. I want that. He is so perfect in that role. But yeah, okay. So Echo is debuting in January. Let's see here. Agatha Darkhold Diaries is not coming out till late 2024. No word on Ironheart, and Daredevil Born Again apparently just got completely rebooted. Apparently they didn't like what they were turning out with it, so they got rid of everyone, minus Charlie Cox, of course, because thank God, he's perfect as Daredevil. But apparently they're going back to the drawing board with that.
Honestly, just do season 4. Like, that's what everyone wants. Why wouldn't you? I mean, they reference the Avengers, like the Avengers movie, the events of that, so much in the first season that I don't think it would be a stretch. Now, She-Hulk might be a little bit of a stretch, because that Daredevil was, I don't know what they're trying to do there. But I honestly, just do season 4. That's what we all want.
See, I've been arguing, and we talked about this on our episode of Dan V. Hollywood about reviewing the Marvels earlier this week. That was an interesting discussion. One of the things I suggested to the MCU, especially with the TV shows, is I said we need to have more smaller-based groups types of superheroes focused on in the TV shows, ones that are not automatically impacting the larger storyline. The example I gave was, have either of you read anything with Great Lakes Avengers?
I've heard of them. I've never read any of their stuff.
It's the team that Squirrel Girl is on.
Okay, yes.
When all else fails, we all know Squirrel Girl. And it's fun because they're a couple lackluster superheroes, and they're trying to get bigger names. There's a joke. One of them is literally called Flatman. He's a 2D human, and the running joke is that everyone thinks he's Reed Richards.
I just want so bad for them to make a West Coast Avengers, like, because the West Coast Avengers, like, from the 80s was so goofy. I loved it. Like Wonderman, and you got Hank Pym, and you got White Vision, and you got Hercules. You got all these weird Tigra or whatever her name is. By the way, she was in Hawkeye. And I think there's a perfect setup to it, because I don't know if any of you guys read the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, which is amazing. One of the favorite
Not familiar with it.
I ever read, but that's what Kate Bishop, and like that was kind of what the Hawkeye was based on, the series. But it kind of, the second half of it, Kate Bishop leaves and goes to Los Angeles and does Kate Bishop stuff in Los Angeles. So it would kind of be brilliant if she were to leave, and you can set it up because Tigra, I want to say Tigra, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but she's one of the West Coast Avengers, and she was her friend her friend from college. So you could set up the story where Kate Bishop goes to Los Angeles to see her friend, who, by the way, is dating a famous actor, Wonderman. And now you've written Wonderman in the story. And like, yeah, was Kate Bishop part of the West Coast Avengers? No, but you know who was? Hawkeye. You've just replaced Clint Barton with Kate Bishop. And you can redo the West Coast Avengers to make it that fun, like, just, I mean, you don't need the big major stars. Just put them in it. And it's the West Coast. Shang-Chi's out there. Ant-Man is out there if you want to somehow bring them in from time to time. But like the West Coast Avengers, Wonderman is my number one want. I want a good Wonderman, and I want Nathan Fillion, which is, he was supposed to be him. That's who James Gunn wanted for him, and he filmed. He was supposed to be referenced in Guardians 2, and they cut the scene. So, I mean, that's what we all want. I mean, I'll take any Wonderman I can get, but I want that West Coast Avengers. That would be so awesome. And you can do it as a small scale. It doesn't have to be the Avengers team. Do it small scale. Throw these no-name guys in there and replace, you can replace Hank Pym with Stature. I mean, that's how you can get Cassie kind of involved. And you can actually kind of morph it into the Young Avengers if you want, because you got Stature.
Have either of you seen the Marvels yet?
I have not. I really want to. I think we're going to go see it tomorrow. I had something.
Okay, then I am going to stop you right there because you're about to get a little too meta for your own good.
Okay.
I'm not giving any spoilers. You know what I'm talking about, right, Spock? Yeah. So we're not. Yeah, it's like we're not going to talk about that anymore. But no, like you are right. We need some more smaller teams like that. That would be a lot of fun. Interestingly enough, you know how many Marvel films we're getting next year, guys?
2, 1,
1. Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
Everything else has been pushed back.
2024 is in it.
Let me defend Marvel a little bit, because everyone keeps blaming the fact that they want quantity over quality. So let me just put a pin in that right now. The first year of Disney Plus, we had, and I know this because we did a top 10 list on my podcast, our top 10 films and series of the year, and we just threw Venom on there, Venom 2, just so we'd have 10. So there was 9 Marvel titles that were released that year. And with the exception of maybe the Eternals, which wasn't as great, it was banger after banger after banger that year. I mean, WandaVision, great. Hawkeye, great. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really liked. Spider-Man was awesome. Black Widow was pretty good. Shang-Chi was pretty good. Everyone loved What If. Like, you could, in 1 year, having 10, if you count Venom, even without Venom, 9 projects. I mean, if Eternals is you take that off the list, that's 8 very good to amazing series. And I don't think they did too much that year. The problem is what I feel like Marvel went away from was they went away from having things contribute to the bigger scene. And what I mean by that is, okay, we saw Shang-Chi that year. We haven't seen Shang-Chi since. We have no Shang-Chi movie in the works. We don't even know when we're ever going to see him again. If you look at what made the first phase of the Infinity Saga work, was that it was building up to something, and these things were paying off in other movies. You got a sequel. You know, you had three Thor movies. You had 3 Captain America movies. You had 3 Iron Man movies. Like, they were building up to something. Now I feel like they just kind of, it's not that they're doing too much, they're just not doing it right. They kind of went away from what was working, trying to throw a bunch of stuff in the dark. And now that they've had some failures, I think now they're kind of scrambling, and they are becoming, I hate to say it, they're becoming more of what DC is. The problem with DC is they get a little nervous when things don't work out like they want, and all of a sudden they just destroy and blow up the whole universe or blow up their plan, which is what Kevin Feige, what I gave Marvel so much props for, was they stuck to their plan for the most part. And now that they've had a couple flops, if you will, now I figure like they are like acting like DC, and they're scrambling, trying to fix anything. They just need to stick with what they're doing, or what they were doing.
No, you're absolutely right. And the proof of that actually is in what is probably one of Marvel's most iconic things, the mid and post-credit scenes. In phase 1, 2, and 3, we had those, and they were always about build-ups and what was coming. I mean, okay, let me just ask you this. What was your favorite post or mid-credit scene from phase 1 through 3? Because for me, it's always going to be when the end of Iron Man 2, when Coulson goes to the desert, says, "Sir, we found it," and you zoom down and you can see Mjolnir, and you hear that that thunderbolt. That got me up in my seat jumping. Love that.
Yeah, no, that was great. You're right. The post-credit scenes, they were I mean, what was technically one of the best was the Avengers trailer. Was a post-credit scene the first time we saw it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the post-credit scenes are supposed to set up the future, the next project, the next couple projects. They just kind of went away from it. Yeah, because, I mean, let's take a look at the Eternals, which, you know, we don't have time to dissect everything that was wrong with that movie. I think you guys would like to see the sun, you know, a little later than this. But we have the end credit scene with Black Knight, and what we've been told was Mahershala Ali as Blade. Now what? Where have they gone? If the troll and Eros, or whatever his name was, right? Mm-hmm. That didn't go anywhere either.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shang-Chi. We have the whole thing about the rings, and they're like, well, you know, we don't know what kind of technology the rings are, and we were speculating like crazy, even down to Quantum Mania, about those rings. It's like, where is all that going? You guys have laid out all of these little breadcrumbs, and frankly, we're tired of following them if you're not going to give us any kind of goal in sight.
I feel like they don't know what they've lost their identity. I feel like they're totally flustered right now. Jonathan Major's personal life has disheveled them and thrown them into disarray. You know what? just stick with your plan. I mean, the reason you decided to put everything on his shoulders was you loved him as He Who Remains. And by the way, he's a variant guy. You can put anyone in that role. If we can accept the fact that Terrence Howard now looks like Don Cheadle, we can accept the fact that someone else looks like Kang the Conqueror.
That's exactly what we were saying before you came on. We were talking about
Great
that.
minds think alike.
Actually, Mr. VanSpock, would you tell him again the two names of, because we were discussing, recasting versus just getting rid of him, and he came up with two actors that he thought if we brought them in to play Kang would be phenomenal in the role. And I agree. I want to hear your opinion on these.
So the first one that I said was Aldous Hodge. He played Hawkman in the Black Adam movie.
Oh, yeah.
He was Invisible Man, and Leverage is really where he got his start. I personally met him on the set of Leverage, as well as Timothy Hutton and a couple other people from the cast. And they're very, very nice people. And Aldous Hodge, I think, has the range. And then also John Boyega from Star Wars.
I love John Boyega.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think because of his range as well, I think he could also.
Boyega kind of looks like. I don't think it would be a stretch with Boyega at all.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's no argument that Jonathan Majors knocked it out of the park with this role, but I understand. Yeah, and I mentioned this earlier. The trial, he has not gone to trial. We are not going into he said, she said, guilty, not guilty. We are not here to do that kind of thing. That is not our business. But we all are in agreement that he knocked it out of the park with this. But we understand that if Disney doesn't want to continue with him as the actor for whatever for this reason, for any other reason, we agree, recast.
How great was it though when You Who Remains started doing the Victor time of the I was laughing so hard. Like I love him as He Who Remains.
There is a talent to making fun of yourself like that. There is a talent to that.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the two of you.
Go ahead.
Who is currently the main character of the MCU? Right up until the Avengers Endgame, you could argue that it was Tony Stark. That it was his show from Iron Man 1 all the way up until Endgame. Even when it was other people's movies, it was something to do with Tony Stark. Captain America's First Avenger, his dad's in it. In Thor, they have Coulson and people who've already interacted with Iron Man in it. They have all of these movies. It's like, okay, so this is all based around Iron Man. Who is the Iron Man right now? Arguably, you could say it's Ant-Man because he actually knows that Kang is a threat. He's one of the only heroes who does know that Kang is a threat right now. Loki was somebody that knew and could have done stuff with it, but now he's the World Tree. I don't think he's coming back from that. Maybe, possibly, maybe in Avengers...
Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars?
Either Kang Dynasty or the other one. What's the one after that?
Secret Wars.
What's
It's
that?
Kang Dynasty. Hang on a second.
Kang Dynasty, then Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. Secret Wars.
Yeah, Secret Wars.
So I think maybe Loki could come back in one of those situations, but I don't see him being a main player in anybody else's story going forward. And that was one of the things that made the original few movies really great, is that they were all interconnected and you see where they were going with that connection. Now they kind of seem listless. Yeah, we have Kang and he's supposed to be the main villain, but what does She-Hulk have to do with Kang? What does Moon Knight have to do with Kang? What does Wanda and Vision have to do with Kang? Nothing. As of right now, absolutely nothing. So I don't see the direction that Marvel's really starting to go. They need to start fleshing that out for us so that we know, okay, this is why everything's connected. These are who's going to show up in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, and this is why they're important to that situation.
Well, and honestly, I think another thing that made the Infinity Saga great was that you had these trilogies of movies, and they stood on their own. Honestly, you could watch the three Iron Man movies by themselves, and you could throw Avengers in there. You could watch the Avengers movies and the Iron Man movies and not miss a beat.
You can watch. I think you can watch the Captain America
exactly,
movie.
and
You might have a few questions, and you might miss a detail or two, but I think you could generally get the whole thing.
But I think what they did, they went out of their way to make sure that these small characters from Captain America continued to pay off, and that's why you got, and I think Falcon and Winter Soldier fits right in as 3.5 because you got Sharon Carter in, and you had Zemo in, and you had these characters from other, and I mean, you reference Wakanda, which Io, I think she was in Civil War as well. So there's not a lot. You're not getting stuff from other series necessarily. They're kind of keeping them in universe, and they might go off into other projects, but you're not missing that story. And I feel the same thing with Black Panther with Everett Ross, where he was also in Civil War, but you're not missing anything with Ross. I don't feel, those characters stay the same. And the fact that we've not gotten a sequel, or, with the exception of Loki season 2, which, say what it is, but we've not gotten more than one film in this new series. So no one has really come back. Like, if there was a Thor 5 right now, I mean, it would feel so awkward because it's so long in between projects, and I don't know who's coming back. That's the problem, I feel. Now, like you said, who is Thor the Star? I don't think you can have the Star be off-world. I don't think you can have the Iron Man be off-world. A Spider-Man, but are you going to give the keys to the I think they would love it to be Spider-Man, but I think...
Yeah, they're still in a nasty custody battle with Sony.
Honestly, that's an easy fix. Easy fix. Maybe not, but look, everything Sony's done outside of that doesn't have actual Spider-Man in it has not been great. I mean, Venoms were pretty good, but I didn't even see Morbius.
Did everyone here see the trailer from Madam Web that dropped today?
I did. And again, like, the reason I don't want to see it is because it has nothing to do with the rest of the MCU. So if Sony was smart, when they reboot everything, they say, look, here's my deal with Marvel. We're going to give up. We're going to give you all the characters, but you have to make us one movie a year in the Spider-Verse, but with Spider-Man characters. It could have Spider-Man, it could not, but you give us one movie a year that Sony, all Sony does is put their sticker on it at the beginning. Marvel does everything. Sony just get completely out of it, and they get one picture a year, and in return, Marvel gets the use of all the characters back that they want, and the Marvel characters can go in these new Sony movies. The Sony characters can go in the new Marvel movies. It's just, you know what? We're just going to collect you do what you do, and we're going to collect a paycheck, because these hundreds of millions of dollars on this other stuff that they're putting into it is terrible. Like, I think because it doesn't fit in. Like, yeah, I was excited about seeing Morbius, but I never did it because I'm like, Kraven the Hunter, it looks kind of good, but I don't even know if I'm going to go see it because to me, it doesn't land in that same universe. And I think what made me want to see Morbius was, and I'm going to call him Mobius because of Loki, but because honestly, I'm like, okay, there's a Spider-Man poster in this movie, and he references Venom, and you see Vulture. So I was more interested.
Okay, no. The Vulture, Spock, did you see Morbius? Then you can back me up on this. The Vulture is a post-credit scene that I want to know who edited it and what high school they pulled them out of.
Yeah, but once I found out the answers to all my questions, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't have to do this. And the same thing with Venom. I'm like, how is this? Is this going to pay off? in Infinity War and Endgame and the new Spider-Man movie coming out. So that kind of kept me going to see it. But yeah,
No, you're 100% right. I mean, I would argue that you're right. Iron Man could be considered the main character of the Infinity Saga,
totally didn't answer.
but I think you could easily just say it was Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. They were the three. They were the trifecta. They were the legs of the tripod. But who is the tripod now? Doctor Strange? He's off dealing with a rift in the metaverse. We have no idea where the hell he went to, and he's got a third eye now. Spider-Man? Again, we're still dealing with a custody battle with Sony. We don't know what our next Spider-Man movie is going to be. Captain Marvel? Well, guess what, guys? I'm not. This is not a spoiler. It's a fact. The Marvels is a record low for the company. I'm not going to go into whether I thought it was good or bad.
But I love Iman Vellani. I'll see anything she does.
I will give you this. I loved her in the movie.
MCU, maybe my favorite character in the whole MCU.
I thought she was great in it, but it doesn't change the fact that, yeah, I get the feeling MCU wanted Captain Marvel to be the leading force for them, but the fact that she is in a movie that has made record lows and has record negative, this is the biggest bomb the MCU has ever dealt with, and it's got to be getting them kind of just sitting going like, maybe using Carol Danvers was a bad idea. I don't know. And again, that does this goes back to a lot what we were talking about is where do they go from now with Loki being actually, hang on a second.
So, Loki.
I promised David I would find a way to work that meme into this show or he'd probably kill me. But yeah, where do we go from here with Loki being the, he is now the god of stories. He is the god of time. He is holding together the new Idrisil. And actually, I did love that parallel. The fact that, because when we see him forming, I know we were not the only ones who looked at it and said, "Oh my God, it's Idrisil." I know we weren't the only ones who thought of that.
You know who the next Iron Man is? It's Reed Richards. It's Reed Richards. It's going to be Reed Richards. I think, and maybe this is smart. I don't know. I think they're gonna blow up the MCU. I don't want this, but maybe that's the whole point of Secret Wars. Is that
when you say blow up, you mean somebody's going to hit the giant redo button, blow up?
Yeah, but there's a way to do it properly. I would be fine with, and I'm, if they can do Fantastic Four justice, because no one else has been able to. When that the one from the 80s is possibly the best version of this kid.
It's not possibly, it is the best version.
That's not saying so.
No,
I don't know why they're not.
That is the lowest freaking hurdle on the planet.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you a question? You mentioned Doctor Strange with the third eye. Do we know for a fact that that's our Doctor Strange, or could that other Doctor Strange have whatever they call it? I want to say flow walk because that's a Star Wars version of it, but entered his butt. What do they call that in Doctor Strange?
Dreamwalk.
Dreamwalk. Yeah. Could that other Doctor Strange just have dreamwalked into our Doctor Strange's body, and that's why the eye came up?
And this is the point where we need the whiteboard with the red string going. This is like we were joking about before because we were trying to talk about just how complicated the first half of season 2 of Loki was, trying to explain the idea of the temporal paradoxes and the loom and all this. And I was like, I seriously need a whiteboard behind me to explain all that. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we said. It's like, we need to all Charlie Day on this. Yes, thank you. And that's actually a distinct possibility. It could be. I don't know. I hate to admit it's been a while since I've seen that movie.
So I think I know how to fix the MCU, and this is just an idea. It's just my spouting off and stuff. But here's the way I would take the next phase over the course of the next 5 years at least. And what you do is you focus on 3 characters every single year. So you do 3 characters 1 year, 3 characters the next year, and then that 3rd year you could actually do the sequel to the first 3 characters. The 4th year You do the sequels to the second three characters. So you have 6 characters who have really been fleshed out. In those movies, you can introduce other people, and they can come in, like Hawkeye did in the Thor movie. He didn't ever get his own movie. We just brought him in, and he became an important part of the MCU. Not everybody needs their own movie. Not everybody needs their own TV show. Just focus on a select few at a time. Then when you get to year 5, you have 4 movies that year. And the 3 characters that you're going to focus on every year, you have one city character, so like Daredevil, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Spider-Man. Then you have one global character, so a Captain America, who else am I thinking of here? The X-Men, you have the Fantastic Four, you have the global characters. And then you have your cosmic characters, your Guardians of the Galaxy, your Captain Marvel. And so you do each year one city, one global, one cosmic. Then you have, in year 5, one movie, that's all the city characters, so a Defenders movie, for example. Then you have your global, so your Avengers, maybe West Coast Avengers, maybe Young Avengers, something like that. Then you have your Cosmic Avengers type movie, so a big Guardians of the Galaxy meet up with a whole bunch of other different characters. Then you have 4th movie where they all come together for something big, so Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or something like that.
So
That's
you're
the way you
essentially
do it.
suggesting like a bracket kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Like a
Okay.
bracket kind of thing. Because there's 3 different types of characters in the Marvel Universe. You have your cities, your low-level guys that are just the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man or just the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And that's all that they handle is that tiny little, like, 7 square block radius thing of New York. Then you have your global characters who have to handle the bigger threats, but not something so big as Thanos wiping out half of the people in the world. When you have that, that is your 4th movie.
Okay.
What do you?
I could see that. I think that works. Helps keep it a little bit more organized. You might be able to have a couple of cameos crossover here and there. I mean, let's face it, we do love seeing a character who had previously been in one movie just kind of show up briefly. I mean, let's face it, I refuse to believe there's anyone here who did not jump for joy when Daredevil showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like he didn't need to be a huge part of that movie. We just loved, and that's actually the thing I loved about She-Hulk. You know, I said this would have been that shows a great way to bring in other characters and just have it be cameo palooza, you know, just have fun little moments of various superheroes and supervillains ending up in She-Hulk's court. And I thought that's actually a fun idea to do. They don't have to have a major plot line going on with the rest of the story arc. Just what else is going on with these Marvel characters when they're not off, you know, robbing banks or saving the day?
And you know what? One thing you could really use Disney Plus for, and this is what I thought they should have done back with ABC, is you have a show called Origins, and all it is essentially the origin stories of all these characters that go in, and you can use Disney Plus for that because you know what? Now we did the origin story of Moon Knight, so now we can just plug Moon Knight in wherever he's going to fit in next, or whatever they're going to do. So, I mean, you can use Disney Plus more like that. And then you don't have to waste films with an origin story. Like I honestly, I thought that we were going to find the Fantastic Four in the quantum realm in Ant-Man. I was so certain of it because I know that that he wanted to make, Peyton Reed wanted to make, and he pitched them a Fantastic Four movie where it was the Hard Day's Night meets the MCU with the Fantastic Four. I'm like, that would have been perfect. And that would explain where they've been this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they disappeared, they're in the quantum realm. And you can show the flashback with that whole, you know, the whole Hard Day's Night with them being celebrities in the 60s. And now they're they find them in the quantum realm. And that would explain why they've been gone. You can do the little montage showing their backstory. And guess what? You could do that in about 15 minutes in Ant-Man. And now we can just get on with their story in the first official Fantastic Four movie. They need to just do more stuff like that, I think.
My theory for the Fantastic Four was actually something similar to. It was the Planet of the Apes movie with James Franco. I can't remember if that was Rise of the Planet of the Apes or.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know. I get the titles mixed up. But do you remember there was a brief thing where they showed a newspaper with about a space shuttle and astronauts that had been lost?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, what if we have just a drop of it's like this team of astronauts will be heading into space something, and then just a later little news clip or something. It's like, space shuttle lost. Try, because maybe they got sucked into another dimension, and that's how they got their powers, and then they came back. Just a little Easter egg dropping that in. It's like, this is something we're going to see later. Especially since I think we're in agreement that if they do an origin story for the Fantastic Four, it will be a disaster. We do not need another origin story for these guys.
And I honestly thought what they should have used they've not used the blip for anything. Why not use the blip to pitch the Fantastic Four? I mean, I like my idea where they're in the quantum realm this whole time, but why not use the blip? They blipped away, and when they came back, my pitch was that they blipped away all of them. They're all part of this mission, and 4 of them blipped away. And when they come back to, everyone else's bodies are dead, and they think Victor. They didn't know that he was the only one left. Like everyone else, Victor killed them all. Victor Von Doom killed them all, and somehow these guys came back after the blip, and somehow they ended up getting their powers. At that moment, and Victor Von Doom, like you could set up kind of him going not crazy, but just kind of being alone for 5 years on this ship, and everyone else is dead, and you could use the blip towards these stories of because you have to. There has to be a reason why we haven't had the Fantastic Four before.
Yeah.
Same thing with the mutants. Why not use the blip where people that were blipped away, like that have this X gene, now it activates the X gene, and now they're mutants. Like
the cosmic shift
exactly
basically kind of kicked that gene into focus. That I would believe that as a story point.
Because why? Especially when the 2 main characters in the X-Men, one of them was a Nazi, or in Nazi prison camp in Magneto. So, I mean, you gotta figure out a way to work this in, and why not use what you have, the blip? They've used the blip for practically nothing outside of a hilarious scene where a tuba player got hit with a basketball, and a couple cool scenes like Elena Belova and
Monica Rambeau.
Like those are cool, but like we haven't used the blip. Why not use the blip to say, you know what? That's how Jane Foster got cancer. She was blipped away. That's how T'Challa got sick. Like he was blipped away, and we're finding the risk. And you probably don't want to say cancer with T'Challa because of Chadwick Boseman.
But there could have been a million other diseases.
You can make up a disease.
There is a long list of diseases, folks. Pick one.
Exactly. And you could call it blipitis. Like the blip is causing all these people to die, and it's hitting everyone. T'Challa. You can even use it to weed out other characters that we don't need anymore. But make it a plot point. They're not doing that at all. And the other problem with the MCU right now is that nothing is contributing to anything else. Like you said with the post-credit scene, but nothing is connecting to anything outside of Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Nothing's really, Darcy showed up twice, and Jimmy Woo showed up for a split second, and there's very little crossover in this new phase of the MCU.
Yeah, like I said, the post and mid-credit scene, and there have been a couple that they have set up future movies, but a lot of them just feel like, okay, this is something we could potentially see in the future, but yeah, we want to see it. We want to see the end of the trail. We're getting tired of this.
Do you think that they're actually like testing the water, introducing us to these characters? Or do you think the negative reaction to these characters are what's shying them away from them?
Slightly, but I do believe the fact that we only have one movie coming next year is probably a blessing in disguise. I feel that, okay, I do not think that Deadpool is going to completely revitalize the financial problems at Disney right now. Sorry, but at this point, they may as well just freaking burn down Disney World, blame DeSantis' followers, and claim the insurance money. But I do think that having the one movie is essentially a palate cleanser for us as an audience. I think it's going to be really good. Disney has ridden Marvel way too hard, churning out tons of projects, movies, TV shows, everything they can think of. And I don't think Marvel has the capability to keep up with Disney's demands. And I think that's been a major problem with it. Is that they're throwing out as quickly as they can, but it's lackluster, and we don't want lackluster. We want them to take their time and turn out fewer projects that are A-level material. So I think having one movie come out next year is a smart move because it's going to really help refresh our feelings about the MCU. It's like, okay, thank God we're not getting bombarded with like 5 movies and 20 TV shows that we gotta follow.
I think Deadpool is going to be, this is going to sound stupid, it's going to be one of the most important films of this whole multiverse saga because I think it's going to wipe out everything that they don't want to deal with in Secret Wars. They're going to wipe out with, and maybe with incursions. I don't know. Maybe that's how they're going to do it, but they're going to use Deadpool as a way to jokingly kill off all these. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw all of these. We know Elektra's going to be in it, right? That's been confirmed. I don't know about Ben Affleck if he's going to be back. We know a bunch of the X-Men are going to be in it from multi franchises. So, I think it's going to cleanse the palate. Like you said, it's going to cleanse the palate of all this stuff that Marvel wants us to forget about.
Have you guys ever read Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are multiple versions of that book. Deadpool has killed the Marvel Universe several times. I know they did this with She-Hulk, but if we don't have a moment of Deadpool just saying, okay, you know what? Forget this. Hold on. Steps to the side, and we see him charging into Kevin Feige's office, I'm going to be disappointed. I want them to go that extra mile. And you know what? I trust Ryan Reynolds. I do. He's the one behind all of this. He's the one who got his Deadpool. He listens to the fans. He knows what we want. I think you're right, Gunnar. I think that he is going to help us just kind of hit a big fat reset button. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I think so too.
All right. So we got so off topic. Is there anything else about Loki season 2 that we have not talked about that either of you guys want to discuss?
I definitely think Ravonna they're setting her part in Kang Dynasty up. We saw the Sphinx, which we know was in the void because we saw it in season 1, but we also know that it looks like Jonathan Major's face on it. And we know that was Immortus's or Ramatut's time machine. Sphinx. So
and Aloth is still there, and we know that Kang, or He Who Remains, can tame him. Yeah.
Well, she tamed him in the comics. She tamed Goliath. So I think that she's going to tame him again, and she's going to. Yeah, I think she's going to be a huge part because everyone's even saying, "Oh, they just left her to die in the void." I'm like, absolutely not. There's no way they're going to set up a character as important as her and just kind of let her go. Will we see B-15 and Casey? I hope so, but maybe not. Will Mobius show up? Is he going to show up in Deadpool? We've heard that rumor before, but I think they've written them. They've written them kind of like Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man, No Way Home. They've written that in a way that it's ended yet open-ended. where if any of those characters want, they can write them back in. But if we never see them again, we've had closure. Kind of the same thing, like 3 different times with Clinton Barton. We got the closure at the end of Ultron. And then, you know what? I'll come back and do one more. And then we got his closure again with his family at the end of Endgame. And you know what? Come back again and we get closure at Hawkeye. So like, it's right now it's closed, but at any time he can come back. And, you know, so I think that's the good thing about Loki. I like how it ended. I hope we see all these characters again. I really enjoy all these guys. I just want to hear Casey say, "That's dumb," in the background one more time.
All right, Vincent VanSpock, was there anything that we missed? Anything you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I've covered everything that I want to say about Loki. It's a phenomenal show. They really did a great job with the poetry of it, the whole coming back around on itself. How that wasn't just like it wasn't just metaphor; it was actually what the show does. So they were kind of also foreshadowing as well as metaphor. So, yeah, it was a really interesting series.
There was no coincidence with them naming a character Ouroboros. They knew exactly that this was the plot, that we are seeing a never-ending cycle, and it's always going to be that way.
I got one more thing to say about Loki. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Your Ouroboros thing got me thinking. I think part of the reason why I love... Let's go back. The reason WandaVision was so great was because of what it became. Every week, the prediction, the water cooler show that we hadn't had in years. And I think I brought this up when we did that end of the year where we ranked all the shows. And what I said there was, what I loved even more than WandaVision was the experience of Wanda, the podcasting about it, the watching hundreds of different YouTube videos and listening to 50 different podcasts and getting everyone's theories about WandaVision. Like, that's what made WandaVision so great. And then none of them came true, with the exception of Agatha. Every single Wonder Woman never showed up. Mephisto never showed up. None of these characters.
The whole middle finger with the Quicksilver thing.
Exactly. Nothing paid off in that. But when Loki happened, I feel like that, like Falcon Winter Soldier, I think we wanted it to be WandaVision, so we kind of made more out of it than it was. But with Loki, I felt Loki was, again, just like WandaVision with a lot of the predictions, but I think Loki paid off the way WandaVision didn't. Because I remember us saying, it's either going to be He Who Remains or Kang. And ended up being He Who Remains is Kang.
It's Kang. Yeah, it's like you both were right.
We got all these payoffs with Loki. Season 2, I feel like we didn't get the not so much we didn't get the payoffs, but I feel like my predictions were so off in Loki. But I loved it. Like, it didn't upset me. I'm just like, man, I was way off. I thought Ouroboros was going to be He Who Remains. I thought they were going to work that in. Like, he was actually He Who Remains, and Kang came in and wiped his mind and became He. Like, I thought that was going to happen. I thought all these cool theories, not one of them came close to coming true. But I loved it. I missed that. There were not really any theories with She-Hulk. There was not really any theories with Moon Knight. Don't get me started on Secret Invasion, but
yeah, that was a fun discussion.
But yeah, and I missed that. I missed those theories about Loki. So hopefully Marvel can catch that again with something else, and maybe it's because when WandaVision came out, there was a whole year, right, where we didn't have any Marvel content.
Yeah, and that came out right at the start of the shutdown.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's why we were so interested, because we're finally getting Marvel back. But that's what they need. I think if they want the series to succeed, they need to give us the series as a series and give it to us in that way. And I mean, Eternals, well, you can say what you want about it, but that should have been a series. And say what you want about Falcon and Winter Soldier, it probably should have been a movie. So, I just think they need to find that balance of where their shows are they series, are they movies? And again, don't let Disney get involved. I feel like that's what Marvel's advantage was over DC, where DC at any point could be like, oh well, Warner Brothers is making us scrap everything, or Warner Brothers is making us change everything. Whereas I felt like Disney didn't intervene much back in the day in the first 3 phases. And I think once they started intervening, that's when some of these projects started weakening.
Definitely. All right, well, folks, Loki season 2 is out on Disney Plus. Go ahead and check it out. If for no other reason, it is going to be fascinating if this truly is the last time we will ever see Tom Hiddleston playing this role. And on that note, I think it is time for us to move on to plugs. Mr. VanSpock, where can our listeners find you?
Right now, just on Twitter, and I'm going to be starting a new series here pretty soon, where I'm going to be playing a Jedi, and I'm going to be teaching people how to deal with mental health through the Jedi way.
That's cool.
I like that a lot. All right, Gunnar, just did a show with you not too long ago, listening to where we talked about the new Beatles single, Now and Then.
Yeah, no, wideopenmic.net is where all of my podcasts are, and I've been on a little hiatus. The show you were on, Gunnar and the Pistols, we've been on hiatus for like 2 years, but we had to come back for Now and Then. And then I got a Lost podcast, a Lost rewatch called We Have to Go Back. So proud of that show. And there's other shows on the network that I'm part of in different capacities and stuff I'm not part of, but wideopenmic.net is all of my content.
All right. Well, as far as our next TV party tonight, that's going to be next week. I will be joined by Mr. Mark Radulich. Or no, I'm sorry, not next week, the week after next. Next week is Thanksgiving, and I'm taking a tiny little break. I've practically sold my soul to Mark. I get it back for at least 1 week with the holiday. But the week after that, Mark Radulich and I will be discussing Upload Season 3. Other than that, we're going to be doing a couple of Damn You Hollywoods. We're going to be talking Wish, the new animated film coming from Disney. And the sort of unholy trinity is coming back to discuss Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. I still can't believe that Roth actually made a movie based off of that trailer from Grindhouse. This has to be seen to be believed. So we're going to do that. We're also going to be talking, coming up soon, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the new anime coming to Netflix. Other than that, I should probably go ahead and do the plugs that actually do pay my bills here. There it is. Honeysuckle Grows Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We're getting ready to start our Black Friday sale. Everything in our shops is going to be 25% off. That's not just Etsy, that's also our handmade at Amazon shops. And of course, we will be doing our charity drive. For every individual order that is placed from either shop, we will be donating $5 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We have done this for the last couple of years. Last year, we raised over $400 for the charity. So if you know somebody who loves geeky accessories and one-of-a-kind jewelry, go ahead and hit up our shops. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I still refuse to call it X. And yes, I am now on TikTok. If for no other reason, I have to share the clips of this show for Mark so we can hopefully get some more viewers. So, for Mr. Vincent VanSpock, for Mr. Gunnar Maelstrom, I'm Alexis Hejna. Be well, behave, be safe.